and welcome to the program. Mr. Zig will not be with us today. He had prior commitments. So we're going to get the show started by, I had a trivia question the last episode, and it was about Gunsmoke, and that from 1955 to 1975, Gunsmoke was on the air, and asked if the question was, can you name the last actor to die or get killed on Gunsmoke? And the answer to that was, surprisingly, it was Gary Busey. Gary Busey was the last person to die on Gunsmoke. This week's question is from 1956 to 1969. Elvis Presley starred in 31 movies. Name the movie that he did not sing in. Okay, so see if you can do that without cheating. So, so I want to get on with the nominees, and the first one up is with Pam Bondi, and the exchange between her and Shifty Schiff. She was about the only one outside of Pete Hegseth that had any big blow-ups or exchanges with the senators, and I think she was even worse than Pete. But we're going to have the exchange here with her and Adam Schiff to begin the show. Let's take a listen to this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Bondi, as you know, the Supreme Court in Trump versus United States held the president has absolute immunity to commit crimes in certain core areas of the president's responsibility. One of those core areas is the Justice Department. So in a breathtakingly dangerous and irresponsible decision, Justice Roberts and the majority held the president can commit crimes using the Department of Justice and be immune from prosecution. Justice Sotomayor correctly said this new immunity lies about like a loaded weapon.
So let me comment on that right off the bat. So that's every president, Adam. You're going to find out. You're going to see him cry about how Joe Biden, if the Trump administration goes after Joe Biden for the stuff that he did while he was vice president, you're going to hear a big outrage from the Democratic side about that. But that goes for any president. The Democrats want you to believe that Donald Trump is the only president that is going to abuse his power and then have full immunity by it. And we all know that that's a lie. All presidents abuse their power and then they have immunity. Donald Trump is the first non-career politician to hold office, and that's what they're going after Donald Trump about. Plain and simple. We all know that. After his first 4 years, we all know that that's exactly what the Democrats are doing. And even some Republicans. We see that too. Okay, let's go on.
So the fear and the concern we have is that the incoming president will use that loaded weapon, that immunity, to commit crimes through the Department of Justice. And for that reason, it is all the more important that we have an attorney general who has the independence, the strength, the intestinal fortitude to say no to the president when it is necessary. So my first set of questions has to do whether you have the independence to say no when you must say no. And you can say this is hypothetical, but it is not hypothetical. So let me start with one very specific non-hypothetical. The president has said Jack Smith should go to jail. Will you investigate Jack Smith?
Senator, I haven't seen the file. I haven't seen the investigation. I haven't looked at anything. It would be irresponsible of me to make a commitment regarding anything without, you're a long practicing attorney, without looking at a file.
So you would need a factual predicate to open an investigation of Jack Smith, is that right?
Not a summary by you sitting.
So that's there you go. That's they don't want, even if there is evidence out there that Jack Smith has done something, that they don't want her to investigate Jack Smith. That's it.
Here. Yes, sir.
And not a summary by the president either, right?
Absolutely.
So a summary by the president or his desire to investigate Jack Smith would not be enough for you to open an investigation of Jack Smith, is that right?
I will look at the facts and evidence in any case. And
sitting here,
excuse me,
today,
Senator, 72% of Americans
please, I only have 7
lost
minutes.
faith in the Department of Justice.
Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Sitting here today, yes or no?
Senator, I will look at the facts and the circumstances.
You can't answer that question?
Brought to me.
You're not a part of the department yet. There's no worry about divulging
I'm sitting
law
here as a
enforcement
nominee.
sensitive information. So just tell us,
I'm
are you
sitting here as
aware?
a nominee.
Just tell us, are you aware of a factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Yes or no?
Senator, what I'm hearing on the news is
Are you aware of
horrible. Do I know if he committed a crime? I have not looked
You seem reluctant to answer a simple question. Let me ask you a different simple question. The president also wants to jail Liz Cheney. Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual basis to investigate Liz Cheney? Yes or no?
Senator, that's a hypothetical, and I'm not going to answer that question.
No, it's not hypothetical. I'm asking you, sitting here today, whether you are aware of a factual predicate to investigate Liz Cheney.
Senator, no one
Based
has
on what
asked
you
me
know.
to investigate Liz Cheney. That is a hypothetical.
Because sitting here today, you don't know. But if later on something comes up with the files that were destroyed by the January 6th committee, if you decide to press charges, then look what you said in your testimony in front of the committee. That's all they're wanting to. I got you. That's all it is.
The president has called for it publicly. You are aware of that, aren't you?
No one has asked me to investigate.
But the president has
We're
called.
also worried about Liz Cheney,
The
Senator.
president has
You know what
called
we
for
should
this.
be worried about?
Ms. Bondi,
The
please
crime rate
answer
in
my questions.
California right now
You are
is
aware,
through the roof.
Ms. Bondi,
Your robberies
Ms.
are
Bondi,
87% higher than the national average.
My question is this.
That's what I
My
want to
question
be
is
focused
this.
on, Senator.
Do you have the
if I'm
power to
confirmed
say
as
no to the
Attorney
president?
General.
And what you're suggesting today by your non-answer is you don't have the independence to say no to the president. So let me ask you a different question. It also requires you, if you're going to be a good attorney general, to be able to tell hard truths to the president. So my questions now are, can you tell hard truths to the president? So let me start with an easy truth that you could speak to the president. Can you tell him that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election? Can you say that? Do you have the independence to say that? Do you have the gravitas, the stature, the intestinal fortitude to say, Donald Trump, you lost the 2020 election? Can you tell us that here today?
Senator, what I can tell you is I will never play politics. You're trying to engage me in a gotcha. I won't do it. I won't play politics with any ongoing investigation,
so let me ask you another,
like you did leaking your colleague Devin Nunes's memo.
If you can't answer the question, let me ask you a different, what should be a simple truth, not a hard one. Was there massive fraud affecting the result of the 2020 election, yes or no?
Senator, I'm glad you asked that question, if you'll let me answer what I saw in Pennsylvania.
No, I asked a simple question about massive fraud.
I can only tell you what I saw in Pennsylvania.
I know you want to answer a different question, but my question is, can you tell us whether there was massive fraud affecting the results of the 2020 election, yes or no? Was there or was there not?
I can tell you what I saw when I went as an advocate to the campaign.
That's not my question. So you can't answer that question. You can't speak that even easy truth to us, let alone to the president. So let me ask you a different question. It will also be important that you give good advice to the president. Are you prepared to advise the president not to pardon people who beat police officers?
Senator, as I said, the pardons are at the direction of the president, we will look and we will advise. I will look at every case on a
Okay,
case.
so you're,
So this is what the Democrats are getting in line. And I believe, and I said it in the last podcast, that I believe that the Democrats, the media, are all getting in line to want to ban or come up with a different law on how a president can pardon. I think that's the reason why they told Joe to I think the ones on death row that he pardoned, I think that was his doing. But the 8,000 that he did after that, I think the Democrats all got together and said, let's abuse this. So now Republicans will be outraged, Democrats will be outraged, and then we can come up and we can get a different law to where now Donald Trump cannot abuse it through his 4 years, after his 4 years is up. Because some of these pardons, and 8,000, well, who in the hell did he pardon with 8,000 pardons? So I think that their game plan is to try to change the law on how presidential pardons are, and that way they've got Trump that he can't have a blanket pardon for himself, which he doesn't need it for himself, because what he does in office, he's done got full immunity on. But he can also pardon himself through all the other 3 lawsuits. And I think that's what they want. They want the Republicans to be outraged by what Joe Biden did, and we've got to change this. We have got to change this, and Democrats are going to be on board because they want it to where we can get in there and change it to prevent Donald Trump from pardoning himself from future prosecutions or a family member, something of that nature. That's what I think that they are going to try. And if you watch most of the testimony and the Democratic side with Pam Bondi, that was pardons. Pardons always came up. Every one of them. Every one of them said something about pardons. So I think they're going to try to capitalize on Republicans being pissed about the pardons that Joe Biden did, and let's change this. We don't want this to happen anymore, the abuse of pardons. So let's change this, and Democrats are going to say, yep, let's go and do it, and they're going to try to prevent Donald Trump from pardoning himself or family members like Joe did.
Let me finish on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, good.
And I abhor violence to police officers.
follow up with that. So will it be your advice to the president, Mr. President, I know you said you want to issue hundreds of pardons on day one. Will it be your advice to the president? No, Mr. President, I need to go over them on a case-by-case basis. Do not issue blanket pardons. Will that be your advice to the president?
Senator, I have not looked at any of those files. If confirmed, I will look at the files
And
for
will
the
you be able to
pardons, as well
will
as
you
the
be able to
ongoing
review
investigation.
hundreds of cases on day one?
I will look at every file I am
Of course
asked
you
to
won't.
look
So
at.
will you advise the
Hey,
president?
can I
will
answer
you-
the question?
Well, my question
I
is-
would have plenty of staff. You said, of course you want.
You'll be able to review
Listen, I'm
hundreds
not
of
going to
cases on the first day?
mislead this body nor you.
All right, let me ask another question. You don't want to answer that, let me ask
You were
another question.
censured by
It will
Congress, Senator, for
it will
comments just like this that
it
are
will
so reckless.
It will also be important for you to be able to preserve the,
Yes, he was censored by Congress. But the people of California said, hey, let's give him a promotion. Give him a promotion.
the records, the evidence of the department. Are you ready to commit that none of the evidence in the January 6th investigation will be destroyed under your watch?
Senator, I will follow the law. I will consult with ethical officials in the
Do you
department.
see any ethical basis to destroy evidence in the January 6th investigation? Then why can't you answer the question? Why can't you say, I commit to this committee We will never destroy the evidence in the January 6th investigation. Why?
Unlike the committee itself that did destroy evidence. Yeah, we want you to commit that you won't destroy evidence.
Can't you give this committee and the American people that assurance?
Are you frightened because evidence was destroyed against President Trump that was false? Is that why you're
Why do
frightened
you
now?
have difficulty?
I can't believe this is even.
Why do you have difficulty answering that question?
I can't believe
Why do
you're
you have
asking such a
difficulty?
question.
Why do you have difficulty promising to preserve evidence at the Department of Justice? Why is that a difficult question?
I will follow the law.
It shouldn't be a difficult question.
So, there you have it. You know, there are several on here that I would like to go through. On the Democratic side, of course, you know how the politics. The Republican side are praising her and thinking she'll do a good job, and I think she'll do a good job. It's unfortunate though that to get the stability back to the DOJ, that it's always a Republican. You know, Democrats don't give a rat's ass about stability and the rule of law. They're going to prosecute a Republican, and I don't understand why Republicans have problems with let's go after. You know, what sneaky stuff did Joe do? Why was Joe given a free pass by the DOJ? Him and Pence. Why were they given a free pass having top secret documents when Trump had to go through what he did? I mean, my guess would be there again, Joe and Mike Pence, career politicians. They are in, yeah. So they protect one another. Donald, he's out there. He's an outsider coming in, trying to screw up their good thing. The other thing that I would have said had I been Pam is that I would have looked at Adam and said, Adam, what does corruption in the DOJ look like to you? What does it look like to you? Because what we've had the last 4 years, I think everybody could say, yeah, there was corruption going on in the DOJ. How they went after parents in schools and investigated parents in schools. The January 6th people. If you were even, I believe they've got their umbrella completely out now to where if you were even thinking about going to January 6th, 2021, that you're getting a knock on the door from the FBI. I mean, it is ridiculous of how they have taken and actually taking agents off of the important stuff, child pornography and crap like that, taking them off of those jobs to put them on to find somebody who even thought about wanting to be there on January 6th. So the Justice Department under Joe Biden in the last 4 years has just been weaponized. But now the Democrats are worried about the DOJ being weaponized. So if I was her, I would look at him and said, what does a corrupt DOJ look like to you? What does it look like to you? What is it in your eyes, Mr. Shifty Shift? Huh? What is a corrupt? Because we see, and if the corruption that happened the last 4 years in the DOJ, you don't have an issue with, we'll get along fine. You shouldn't have any issues with me going after Joe Biden for the thing with Ukraine, dealing with Ukraine. If the prosecutor isn't fired, then you don't get the $1 billion. You know, so you shouldn't have an issue with that because that was all before he become president. So I've I just don't know why they they're having an issue with this, and why. Yeah, let me and why they are, but you will know that you will see the theme of the pardons and the weaponization of the DOJ office. They are so concerned about that. But when it was going after Donald Trump, January 6th, parents, uh, uh, people standing out abortion clinics, anti-abortion people, pro-life people, the DOJ sure weaponized then, didn't they? But now, oh no, 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 we can't have you weaponizing the DOJ.
The word about January 6th and what happened. We lived through it, many of us. We'll never forget it. To think that the United States of America's Capitol building was desecrated by an insurrectionist mob that came in and did horrible things, particularly to our police force, that keeps you safe as you sit there and keeps us safe every single day. Over 100 of them were attacked by these demonstrators. One, Kenneth Bonowitz, a member of the so-called Proud Boys, another alt-right group, assaulted at least 6 officers, placed one in a chokehold and lifted him up by the neck. Bonowitz injured one officer so severely he had to retire. Kyle Fitzsimmons, convicted for 5 separate assaults against law enforcement, including one that caused a career-ending and life-altering injury to U.S. Capitol Police Sergeant Aquilino Ganell. Can you understand why when Donald Trump says, the day I am inaugurated as president, I will issue a blanket pardon to these, quote, political prisoners? We view this with an outrage on our side. These men and women risk their lives for us every day, and they almost died. Some of them did die in the course of this attack. Why aren't we treating them as such, and why do you have to reserve judgment? Vice President Vance didn't when he was asked this week. He said pardon should not be extended to those who were guilty of violence against policemen.
Yeah, and Senator, I do not agree with violence against anyone, but especially police officers. And every time I've been walking through these halls, meeting with all of you, the men and women of the Capitol Police Department are incredible. They do a great job. They deserve to be safe. And I do not agree with violence against any police officer.
I would hope.
I never have, Senator.
So it sounds to me like the Democrats are really worried about the police officers on Capitol Hill. I mean, he has a real tone to his voice that he really cares about police officers. Huh. He really cares about the Capitol Police. But look at his attitude when it comes to 2020 and burning down the city. Burning down cities all over the country. What were their attitudes then? What was his attitude? I mean, it's amazing how they have the careness in their hearts, and they really appreciate what the Capitol Police do. But burn down Minneapolis, and hey, burn down all of these cities, and they were, they didn't give two craps about the police officers and their well-being that took care of trying to prevent them burning down. In fact, the Democratic cities that this happened in, the governors, the Democratic governors, just said, sit back and let them burn it down. We don't. Well, it's their time to shine. Let the protesters just do what they want. Think about that. I mean, it is crazy to think now they've got a heart for the police officers. because it happened on Capitol Hill. They don't give a damn about the Fergusons or the Minneapolis or none of that. They don't care anything about those guys, but we care about our Capitol Police.
You weren't able to answer my question affirmatively earlier, but I would hope that if this moves forward in a positive way on your nomination, you will speak up at some point on behalf of these police officers who are keeping you safe today and your family safe. I yield.
Okay. Before Senator Graham, I want to enter into the record without objection from the members of this.
So it just, I mean, it is amazing how Democrats pick and choose. You would think that they would be on board about protecting all police officers. That's what I would think, that they would want to protect all police officers, even though there might have been one bad apple, you know. But so far, through the Ferguson, that was not done the way the Democrats wanted you to think that it was done. Up there in Minneapolis, the George Floyd incident, that wasn't. There's a lot going on there that wasn't brought to trial. Couldn't use it in trial, the evidence in trial. I mean, so don't think that you would think that the Democrats would want all police officers protected. But then, you had a vice president and ran for president who come up with a GoFundMe page to bail the rioters out of jail. What do you think would have happened? What do you think would go on if Republicans had done that for the January 6th people? But there again, Republicans don't want their name. They're the grown-ups in the room. Just like going after their political opponents, which went after Donald Trump and still going after Donald Trump. They're the adults in the room, so we're not going to do that. We're going to be better than that. It's always the Republicans that do this. Democrats are all online. They're all on the same page. And you'll see it when I don't understand why CBS, NBC, ABC, why they even have a news anymore. Because nobody watches it. I don't understand why, and you'll see through these next 4 years how the Republicans will change their mind on getting rid of the education department. I'm sure that they'll Republicans are their own worst enemy. They're their own worst enemy. They somehow, people vote them in because they say they're going to get rid of the Department of Education, and we elect them, and then they get in there, and now you watch. Republicans are going to be fighting Republicans on saving the Department of Education, which, in my view, Department of Education, it should all go back to the states. Get rid of that department. The student loans should be stopped. Federal government should not have anything to do with student loans. It should be stopped. Let these colleges have their merit of people wanting to go to their college instead of getting student loans, the federal government to pay for those student loans. They should all stop. That should be a give me. But you'll have Republicans who get elected to put a change in there on that, but won't do it. There is this certain theme going on, especially about January 6th, which they're living in the past. It's 2024, and the pardon. I do believe that you're going to see them beating the drum of the pardon, and they want to try to get that away from President Trump, so that he cannot pardon anybody. So I mean, I want to go on a different topic. Okay, so I know some of you may have seen this interview with Mark on Joe Rogan's program, and there was an interesting thing that he said, and I just want to run this by everyone and see if you catch what Mark Zuckerberg is saying now about what happened in 2020. Let's take a listen to this.
For one of these books where it's just like it really is a slippery slope, and it just got to a point where it's just okay. This is destroying so much trust, especially in the United States, to have this program. And I guess it was probably about a few years that I really started coming to the conclusion that we were going to need to change something about that. COVID was the other big one, where that was also very tricky because, at the beginning it was, it's like a legitimate public health crisis, in the beginning, and it's even people who are like the most ardent First Amendment, defenders, the Supreme Court has this clear precedent that's like, all right, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. There are times when, if there's an emergency, your ability to speak can temporarily be curtailed in order to get an emergency under control. So I was sympathetic to that at the beginning of COVID. It seemed like, okay, you have this virus. It seems like it's killing a lot of people. I don't know, we didn't know at the time how dangerous it was going to be. So at the beginning, it kind of seemed like, okay, we should give a little bit of deference to the government and the health authorities on how we should play this. But when it went from, 2 weeks to flatten the curve to, and like in the beginning, it was like, okay, there aren't enough masks. Masks aren't that important. To then it's like, oh no, you have to wear a mask. And, everything was shifting around. It just became very difficult to kind of follow. And this really hit the most extreme, I'd say, during the Biden administration when they were trying to roll out the vaccine program. And I'm generally like pretty pro rolling out vaccines. I think on balance, the vaccines are more positive than negative. But I think that while they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who was basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably true.
Who is they? Who's telling you?
So right here, and I know Joe has a reputation, and he wants guests to come back and feel welcome to come back. But right there, I would have stopped Mark and said, that's bullshit. Because you took down everything. It did not matter if it was the truth or someone guessing or someone's belief, you took down everything. You even censored people off of your platform. So don't sit there and say now that if you told the government that if it was the truth, then you wasn't going to take it down. Bullshit.
To take down things that
it was
that talk about vaccine side effects.
It was people in the Biden administration. I think it was I wasn't involved in those conversations directly, but I think it was.
How difficult is that to not be involved in those conversations every hour on YouTube? And it's bananas. It's bananas. That's like to try to get a human being that is reasonable, logical.
So, but that's I could not believe, and to be fair, I have not listened to this whole interview, So maybe Joe at the end did say something, that maybe did put him to test about the fact that you took down everything, man. When it come to COVID, you were taking down everything. If even doctors that went against what Fauci was saying, you took it down, and you even banned those people from getting back on your platform. So don't sit here now and saying that, well, if a doctor got on the platform on Facebook and said that went against what the Fauci and the government was saying, then we allowed him to say that. Bullshit. You did not. You took him down. You stopped it. So, Mark, and I don't know why Joe didn't stop him right there and say bullshit. You took everybody down that had anything to do with COVID. If they that were not on the same page as the government, you took them down. So, but that was one of the interesting interviews that I seen, and I just thought I would bring that up because I was shocked. I was shocked to hear him say that, and I was shocked that Joe just went right over it and went to other things, So, but so one other thing that I have before I go, and that is the we lost a good guy in Bob Euchre, and Mr. Baseball. He was a good guy, funny guy. One of the things I want to share one of the things that he said in his Hall of Fame. He got into the Hall of Fame, I believe it was back in 2011, under a broadcaster, in which he thought that he should get in being a player, but he didn't. But here's one of the funny things that he had on on his Hall of Fame day.
I did not have a lot of ability as a kid. My dad wanted me to have everything that everybody else had. I think the first thing that he ever bought me was a football. And I was very young, and he didn't know a lot about it. He came from the old country. And we tried to pass it and throw it and kick it, and we couldn't do it, and it was very discouraging for him and for me. And we almost quit. And finally we had a nice enough neighbor came over and put some air in it. And what a difference.
Joe or Bob Euchre, bless his heart and may rest in peace, from 1934 to 2025. He will definitely be missed. All right. So I just want to wrap everything up and say that hopefully the next time Mr. Zig will be with me. So other than that, everybody have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.